You're born like any other baby, but on one sunny afternoon, your parents decide to tuck you into a baby carrier and go with you out for a walk. By evening, your cheeks are flushed and blistered. You were outside just for a few minutes, but your body looks as if it was abandoned in the Sahara Desert for a day. Weeks of doctors, fluorescent waiting rooms, and whispered conversations end with a word your parents have never heard: Xeroderma Pigmentosum, XP for short. The doctor explains, your cells can't repair UV damage. Every second in sunlight leaves invisible wounds that never fully heal. The burns are only the surface. The danger runs deeper, threading silently through your skin's DNA. From that day forward, your world becomes way different from anyone else's. Then the rules arrive quickly, almost militarily. No stepping outside in daylight. Cover every inch of skin before leaving the house. Windows fitted with UV blocking film. Light bulbs swapped for safer ones. And of course, the plastic mask shield arrives before school age. It's not something you ask for. It just shows up one day in a padded case. At first, it looks like something a welder might wear. Clear plastic, curved to cover your whole face, held in place with a headband. The doctors explain it's coated with a film that filters out nearly all UV rays. To you, though, it feels like a wall between you and the world. The first time you wear it outside, neighborhood kids stare. They ask if you're playing astronaut or if you're sick. You laugh it off, but you notice the way they keep their distance. Breathing fogs the inside until your parents learn to rub it with anti-fog spray. Over time, you stop noticing the weight on your forehead, the pressure of the strap against your hair. It becomes as ordinary as shoes, something you don't leave the house without. And on top of all that, your parents become guardians of your environment. They check the tint on every window. They carry portable UV meters the way others carry wallets. They make sure that trips outside won't become surgical operations and make sure you wear layers of fabric, gloves, a broad hat, and the plastic shield. But even with protection, life feels filtered. Every hug outdoors is separated by a layer of plastic. Every smile you give is reflected back at you, faintly distorted. It works, and that's what matters, but it also reminds you that you live in a world that was never built for you. At first, you're too young to understand. The rules just are. But over time, the difference seeps in. At 6, you stand near the window and watch neighborhood kids playing, running through sprinklers. You can almost hear the cool splash against their legs. You know if you join them, you'd be inside again before the first drop hit your skin. But that's not where your social struggle ends. School is a battle. Your parents might try doing the safe routes, sprinting from the car to the entrance, ducking into shadow, but there are sunlit hallways, untinted classroom windows, even overhead fluorescent lights that leak UV. Teachers promise they'll keep an eye on you, but accidents can happen. So school moves home. The kitchen table becomes your desk. Your mother teaches math while soup simmers on the stove. Science experiments happen under lamplight. Recess is replaced with games in the living room, or, on better nights, outside under the moon. Your life is flipped. When others are winding down, yours begins. The street is quiet, the air cool. You ride your bike under the glow of street lamps, wheels humming against the asphalt. You and your parents make midnight trips to the park, chasing each other across dewy grass. A 24-hour grocery store becomes your mall. Night feels slower, softer, but there's always the quiet pull of isolation. The few friends you might have made fade as your schedules drift apart. Birthday parties happen in the afternoon. You can't go. School dances are lit with black lights. Not safe. Even one summer, your neighbor invites you to a barbecue. You think you might make it work. You go, wrapped in layers. The sun hangs low, but not low enough. You feel the first prickle on your cheek. You leave before the first burger comes off the grill. You get used to leaving early, but it never stops stinging. XP isn't just about the burns. It's about what follows. The first time the dermatologist says biopsy, you're still just a kid. The word feels huge in your mouth. They numb your skin, slice out a tiny piece. A week later, they remove more. You collect scars, pale and tight, mapping the places you weren't quick enough, or the times a window let in more than you thought. Doctor visits become routine. Every few months, sometimes more. Waiting rooms blur together, beige walls, the smell. You even learn to recognize medical equipment by sound, the click of a dermatoscope, the high whine of a cautery tool. Then some time passes. You are in your teens, and an accident happens. It starts as a small spot on your skin, barely a freckle. You almost don't mention it. But at your next checkup, the dermatologist's expression changes. She calls in another doctor. They murmur to each other, too quiet for you to hear. A week later, you're on an operating table. The bright light above you feels like the sun you've been avoiding your whole life. The surgeon works quietly, cutting deeper than you expect. You can smell the faint, metallic tang of blood under the sterile drape. When it's over, your mom grips your hand like she's afraid to let go. The diagnosis comes the next day, early stage melanoma, caught just in time. For days afterward, you can't stop touching the stitches on your skin. You think about how close it was. You think about what would have happened if you've waited another month or two. It changes you. You follow the rules even more strictly now. Not because your parents say so, but because you've seen what's waiting if you don't. Dating comes later, and it's its own battlefield. Not everyone understands XP. Some people think it's just a sun allergy, something a pill could fix if you tried hard enough. You get used to explaining it on first dates, laying out the rules before someone can suggest a picnic or a day at the beach. Sometimes their smile stiffens and the night ends early. Other times, they say they don't mind, but you can feel the weight of the rules pressing on them. The tinted windows, the restricted hours, the way dinner has to be scheduled after dark. But when someone does stay, it feels different. The connection is forged in quiet spaces, late-night diners, empty movie theaters, long walks under the stars. You learn quickly how much intimacy lives in these moments. A hand held in the cool night air feels more significant than 1,000 sunny afternoons. Still, fear lingers. What if your condition is too much for them? What if they see the scars from surgeries? What if the shield makes them uncomfortable, and they decide it's easier to step back? You carry these questions silently, balancing the risk of opening up against the risk of isolation. And yet, when trust grows, you realize something extraordinary. The right person doesn't see the shield as a barrier. They see it as part of what kept you alive. XP makes every relationship, with friends, with partners, even with strangers, an act of navigation. But it also teaches you to notice what others overlook. When someone stays late just to share a walk under the moon, you know they've chosen you deliberately. When someone learns to check UV ratings without being asked, you feel a kind of safety most people take for granted. And then adulthood doesn't loosen the rules. You might try to work nights. Your first job is stocking shelves in a supermarket from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The hours are perfect, but the fluorescent lights hum overhead, and you keep your plastic face mask on for the first few weeks until the manager orders safer bulbs. You get used to the rhythm. Trucks unloading at midnight, the smell of cardboard and coffee, the quiet camaraderie of other night shift workers. But the work wears on your body. Your sleep schedule becomes jagged. On days you have to run errands, you're trapped in the house until nightfall. Then you find something better, a remote job, maybe data entry at first, then customer support, then something that lets you set your own hours entirely. Your office is your bedroom. Blinds drawn, soft lamplight, the hum of your computer fan. You can work in the quiet hours before dawn, in pajama pants, a mug of tea cooling beside you. For the first time, you feel like your work and your condition aren't in constant conflict. There's beauty in your hours. The hiss of tires on rain-slick streets, the scent of jasmine in the summer night air, empty sidewalks stretching ahead, the world feeling like it belongs to you alone. Sometimes you walk until your legs ache, letting neon signs and street lamps guide you. You know which shops stay open late, which alleys are safe, which rooftops have the clearest view of the stars. People ask if you miss the sun. You don't. You never got to remember it clearly. What you might miss is not having to measure your life in minutes of exposure, not having to think about it at all. XP will always shape your life. It will always set you apart. But in the stillness of the night, under the moon's quiet glow, you've learned something most people never will. You don't need the day to shine.